Greetings, African people. Today, I don't want you to look at my beautiful, luscious lips because they're so lovely. They're going to distract you. What I want you to do is close your eyes and listen to what's coming out of these lips. In the link below, please tell me how many of you started looking at my lips the moment I told you not to? That is the nature of man, the nature of mankind. When we ask individuals not to do something, it just forces them to do some more of it. And this is why I'm always talking about racism. It isn't as if we don't have enough problems and things in our community to solve, but individuals always bring me back to this topic. And Jack, you are responsible for this one. Thank you for watching my video and thank you for engaging me in these conversations. I am at the point where I can say, I hear you, I don't understand you. And I think it's the same thing that you're hearing me, but you're not understanding me. And until human beings learn how to bridge the gap, to start listening to what people are saying and trying to understand where they're coming from, we're always going to be having these conversations. Now, I'm going to take parts of your message to do this video. I'm not being selective. I just can't go through the whole thing. But the things that reached out to me or appealed to me or caused me to think are the things that I will address in this video. So, Jack says he moved to Canada from US because it is more peaceful here. I agree with him. And we had a conversation about, Black people not cowering anymore to individuals because Jack had said in a previous message that when you go to New York, you could, from any time or any given time, you would see, 1 to 9. I don't remember the number, but between 9 and 12 Black guys discussing all kinds of topics and are saying that they're more superior to Black people. And Jack feels that Black people are more racist than white people. That his perspective, and we have to learn to just respect other people's views. I have no problems with a KKK person or a racist person expressing their views. The only time I get offended and get all up in my skin is when individuals tell me what I'm supposed to think and what I'm supposed to believe. And one of the most beautiful things in this world, in this life, is our ability to maintain what's in our mind. Because the person who is racist has more power when they're able to keep these radical views in their mind, live their lives in such a way as if they're not racist. And people get, the best of both worlds. They get to hold on to their ideas. And at the same time, they get to discriminate against others without anybody knowing that that's what they're doing. And that is the general situation with African people around the world. So my friend here, Jack, says Black Lives Matter is as racist as Black Panther or KKK. You can be Black and disagree with them, and they will beat you up and murder you over that. Now, that could be any number of things because for every revolutionary fighter, there was Jack. From Martin Luther King to Nelson Mandela, when all of these individuals expressed their views, they either died or went to prison, and they were not sent to prison by other Black people, or maybe Black people might have been involved in bringing them down, but ultimately the ones who decided their destiny were not Black. So that is some general statement that can be applied to anybody. Then he goes on to say that when they looted and rioted during their peaceful protest, what do you think? Who do you think they harmed? They harmed small business owners in their own community. They did not harm anyone who actually disliked generalized Black people, and that generalization is as stupid as white people. So he's saying when Black people protest and burn down buildings or businesses in their community, that was a stupid thing. And I agree. I agree that oftentimes when Black people stand up to protest, it's usually the people within their own communities that gets hurt the most. But I don't think it's because the Black folks are out there looting their own community shops and things like that. There are also white people who join these groups. I've seen it in England. I've seen it in the United States. Oftentimes you see white folks running out of supermarkets with things. It's not just Black persons that do it. So sometimes individuals come to these peaceful rallies pretending to want to be a part of change when they're there to create a situation to make the individuals who stand up for change look bad. He says that poor do not seem to understand that they choose to live segregated in ghettos according to skin color, religion, or whatever nonsense. Um, if they actually had any time, had actually spent any time in Africa, as I have, they would see just how stupid generalizing black people is, and have they spent time in Europe, ditto for white people. So again, Mr. Hunter is showing you the difference between, white folks and black folks, and that black people have decided to live in ghettos. Are you serious, Mr. Hunter, that they're choosing to live in ghettos? They have no choice. It's because of poverty why they have to live this way. And why are they poor? Where are the governments creating jobs and opportunities for black people? There are many people in these generalized ghetto areas, or generalized black people you're talking about, who have been denied education and opportunities for advancement. And who is doing this thing to these individuals? Some communities will never have equality, but in large cities, there already is equality. And that means that depends on what you equate equality to be. Your definition of equality, maybe you might want to tell me what that is. But you went on to say most employers will discriminate if you have weird names, because that usually is a sign of poverty and stupidity. That is explained in a book, Freak Economics or Freakonomics or something. He didn't remember the name. The point is, there's no white privilege, it doesn't exist. Um, Poverty breeds stupidity, which cause racial unrest and separation. And if you work on ending racism in your own community and unite with other races, you will accomplish far more. Listen to me, Mr. Hunter. That has been the issue with African people. We have always wanted to work with other people in our community to keep us destitute and poor and at the bottom. See, we don't need to be trying to end racism in our own community. We need to be learning how to forage friendship and business and relationship with each other. We are done, or it's time for us to be done with trying to get rid of what you refer to as racism, because black people cannot be racist. We can be prejudiced, but we cannot be. If you understand the concept of racism, you must understand that it's an institution. It can't be a person's ideologies. Now, the individuals within certain groups can be racist because they're a part of a system that teaches them that they are superior to other people. How many black people do you know that really goes out there and act like they're superior? Most black people's self-esteem is as low as the ground. They believe that everything about them is evil and all things about you is white. And then you come to me with this argument about race. Now this is what I love about white folks. And I'm not being facetious with this comment. I'm serious that the difference between white folks and black people is because you change your mind very often and we don't ever change our mind. Everything that has caused pain and suffering to other people that you have inflicted on other races or other group of people within your own community, you have changed your mind about it. Homosexuality was something that individuals used to be killed for in your own communities, and you have changed your mind about that now. And the thing about it that I don't like is that when you change your mind about it, all of a sudden you start judging other people who don't follow suit right away. So I think sometimes when we're doing things that's wrong, that's discriminatory as African people, we sometimes don't want to change our mind about it. We stick with it even when we realize that it's destructive. We could really learn something from you, but not that sense of superiority where all of a sudden you created systems that were discriminatory, that were prejudiced or racist, outright racist. And when you change your mind on it, you started to make it seem like you are this great humanitarian. No, you're not. You did what a human being is really supposed to do, is acknowledge when you've done wrong. Now, the only thing you haven't done in terms of changing your mind is how you treat black people. Your opinions of black people have not really changed over the years. You've changed systems that appear to be on the side of black people, but the way you deal with us in day-to-day life is still the same. Jack, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. To conclude this video, I spoke to a young lady. I'm assuming it's a young lady who said she lived in Jamaica with her family when she was a little girl, and her mother had to hide her under shavings because political unrest and individuals wanted to kill them out of because of politics. And our attitude as African people is the same now as it was then. In my little country, I am ashamed to admit that the people there are so prejudiced towards their own. Whenever anything happens to somebody else, all of a sudden they have so much empathy and so much sympathy. Black people around the world, as soon as something happens into another country, they come out and they change their Facebook pages and they're in mourning. And it doesn't matter what is happening in Africa, what is happening in Haiti, what is happening in Jamaica. The first thing they come out is say, oh, the Haitians are killed by earthquake because they're evil. The people in Jamaica are too wicked. And they join these outsiders in saying the worst thing about their own. We are unforgiving. We're judgmental. We're horrible. So Hunter here spent a little time with me this morning going back and forth as to why, saying black people should take a look at the Trayvon Martin and the Brown kid situation and understand that it was justifiable homicide and that these individuals died because they were bad people. This guy or man or whomever this person is, he stands on the side of his race. And he's telling me that let's not talk about race. And, some of the concepts that he introduced to us, I said, this is your problem. These are new concepts. We know race. We don't know nothing about intellect. He's talking about until we move about away from racial harmony or identify ourselves with racial groups and get to look at intellect. This is one of the things in my own country too that I dislike. It makes me angry when individuals go to school and are introduced to European forms and modes of thinking. All of a sudden, they look down on their own people. So someone who might have gone to university for 4 years, all of a sudden think that they have, this great position. They're standing on top of a plateau, and everybody below them just deserve to be spat upon. They mock our language, our dialect, which is a part of our ancestral history. We hold on to our African roots in this language, mixed with English and those who colonized us. And you will find someone who cannot even speak English. Some of these guys that are talking on these talk shows in Jamaica are as dunce as bat. They have no ability to think outside of the box. They are so ignorant, and you will hear them take person's conversation and tape it and place it on the internet and mock and ridicule Jamaican people for speaking patois. And it enrages me. So, Jack, there is a lot of things that black people could learn from white folks. And one of the things is loyalty. Because I'm yet to meet a white person who will condemn the person. They might condemn the thing, but they never condemn their race. And that's something that I think is a very good thing. That's something that we as African people can learn. But the thing is, you identify, Jack, with the man who's from Germany. You identify with the one from America and the one from Canada and the one from England. You identify with every person, even though you claim that, race is not important. You don't feel empathy for Trayvon Martin or the kid Brown, as you refer to them. You claim that a boy who had candies in his hands deserved to die. One has a gun, and he, according to you, hit the other guy in his head, and he deserved to die for that. If it was the other way around, that would not be your thought. So, I appreciate the fact that you share this time with me, Jack. But what you have done is demonstrate to me that the typical white person will never understand the condition of black people, will never ever really side with us, even when you bring arguments that sound like you're ready to reason. Inherently, there's something within you that refuses to understand the other's position. Black people, you will never come up and out. You will never rise from the ashes until you recognize that when you're separated, you must fall. Only with unity will we rise. And we cannot be united because we don't value each other. We suffer from Stockholm syndrome. We only love those who hate us. And that is the condition that we will continue to bear the lashes and the kicks and the slaps, and the poverty and all that goes with the ignorance. The blessed African people. Think on these things.